Good afternoon, cult members, and welcome to Pop Culture Cult. I'm Sean.
I'm Janice.
And welcome to our few days late review of The Skeleton Crew, Episode 5. This one is called You Have a Lot to Learn About Pirates, Young Padawan.
And lightsabers.
And life in general. Do not trust adults. We are a few days late on this one because of a couple of reasons. One, we had the, big giving out presents holiday thing. And we were also at Disneyland. Disneyland. So we're finally getting around to this episode. Traditionally, episode 5s have been the big hitter episode. And we got reminded that Jod is A, not a good person, B, has force abilities, C, we still don't know who he really is, and we get a lightsaber. Alright, so thanks for coming.
Yeah, there was some death in this one.
Yeah.
A couple people didn't make it.
Okay, so I want to break this down into the parents, the kids, and then the whole Jod of it all.
Okay,
so the parents thing, we've been talking about how the parents aren't just going to sit around and do nothing.
Right.
And that they are trying to do stuff. Wendell, Wim's father, apparently is still going to work.
Right. They all went to work.
Yeah.
Right? They were all there, which I guess they have to pretend like nothing's going on, although I don't know how you're getting any work done.
Right. Between him, Fern's mom, and
Neil's mom.
Neil's mom
is Mama Weasley.
She is Mama Weasley.
She's like lots of kids, whatever, and then all of a sudden she's a badass.
Right. She gives Wendell the a piece of hardware to help them hack into the system to send out a signal to the kids, not giving anything away, but maybe just so the kids can track them back to AT-AT, kind of a homing beacon kind of thing. Yeah. And Wendell puts it in the system and gets caught by the security droids. Him hiding it behind his back with one hand or the other.
Nothing in my hand.
Right, but he gets called to the principal's office, which happens to be Fern's mom's job, and she's the undersecretary, I guess is what they called her in the one episode. And she does the memory wipe of the droid who catches Wendell with the device, and she's like, "I'm working back channels. You told me not to do anything," and he kind of explains like, "We can't. Nothing's happening. The supervisor's not doing anything."
Yeah, how's that working out for you?
Yeah. So it's definitely they're definitely trying to do something, and there's definitely something with the supervisor that's now allowing them to do it. Now I don't know if it's just the security protocols of the droids, and they can't be like this is the system, we always do the system kind of thing. They really haven't explained that yet. It's one of the frustrating things I'm having with the show because I want answers. I know it's storytelling, but I want to know who the supervisor is.
I have thoughts.
I have thoughts too. So they are trying to do something. They're not just sitting around on their hands. And I really appreciate that they're going back to the parents and showing that they do care. They're just restricted with what's going on.
Right.
And everything. Okay, so let's talk about the kids. Now, the kids themselves, we got kind of a dichotomy. Dichotomy is not quite the right word. We got a yin and yang of this episode of the kids. We got the kids who are sitting around listening to stories of SM-33, telling them about all these the old ways, these old pirate stories. Pirate tales and stuff. And then when they get to Skull Island, no. Keep talking amongst yourselves.
Skull something.
Skull Ridge Mountain.
There you go.
On which was Captain Render's like kind of hiding place.
Yeah. Renaud.
Captain Renaud is like this famous Blackbeard kind of level, Jack Sparrow kind of level pirate who would kill on a whim and plundered all over the galaxy and did a lot of things and stuff. And he hid all of his stuff at Skull Ridge Mountain. They get to Skull Ridge Mountain and they've turned it into adults only luxury resort.
Yeah.
And SM-33 told all these kids about the old stories of Renaud. Sorry, it's gonna be it's gonna be a thing. And so they get there and they're like, "What happened?" And SM-33 is just the whole time he's just like, "What did they do at our place?" Then you get them kind of covertly trying to break in as
the elders,
and Jod doing the Chaucer version of them.
The Herald.
The Herald, yes. That comes straight from the other scene I was thinking of was the Solo movie where Kira sneaks them into Kessel. Chewie, and she does the whole like whatever.
Yeah.
You get the kids. They finally get in the suite after Jod bribes them pretty much into a place. They get this big giant suite, and then the kids start jumping on the bed and like
being kids.
And then Jod like, we needs to hurry because he got found out by an old pirate friend, bounty hunter friend of his, whose name is going to not come up when I need it readily. So he knows that they're on a clock. He knows that they have to rush.
Yeah, she's gonna report them.
Yeah.
Because they've got a bounty on their heads now.
Right. And they're still being kids. So you get the whole back and forth of them. I want to go with Fern, and I want to go with Wim. And we're going to team up.
And Fern didn't want to go into the spa.
KB did want to go in the spa.
Oh, that's right. KB didn't want to go in the spa, which was interesting. Like, why?
Yeah. And she said it was gross.
She said it. Well, she came up with something.
Yeah.
But yeah, like there was something else going on there.
Yeah. And then at the end, once they do finally get in the treasure room, very National Treasure kind of feel to
Indiana
it.
Jones
Kind of feel to it with the big giant crystal skull in the background. They finally get the coordinates, and that's the whole reason they were there, was to get the port, to find the coordinates, and we get a short video of Captain Renaud. Wearing the pirate hat that Fern was earlier wearing, which I thought was
But his face was conveniently out.
Yeah. And they actually even, I think Neil was the one who pointed it out. Like,
yeah, what's wrong with the video or something? Yeah.
But Jod tells SM-33 to kind of, the pirates were now there. They went through this ice bath and
acid.
And Jod tells SM-33 to turn the acid bath back on, and kills a bunch of the pirates, who killed a bunch of security guards. So I guess comeuppance, whatever.
Yeah.
But in that message, they found out that At-Aten is the last Old Republic mint.
Yep.
So it is the land of endless treasure.
Right, because you can just, as long as you've got the gold or whatever they're made out of, you can just print it all out, which is why the kids had these shiny, brand new Old Republic credits, because they are brand new.
Yeah. I found it interesting a couple times with the kids too. I'm not quite done with that kind of whatever, but them learning terms, concubine, treasure, mint, like all these kind of different words that they just they're not exposed to because of either their age or just they're not they're not in the vernacular of at.
Right, they're in a sheltered. Their
Yeah.
world is literally
Yeah.
sheltered. It's got a big shield around it. So
Yeah. So then when Jod finds out that Atten is the Old Republic Mint, he does a mutiny and calls for a challenge of the captain. And the kids then realize that they shouldn't be trusting Jod at all. Jod also got a new name of Dash. Not Dash Rendar. That would have been amazing. Dash Zinton. So there's another name that he went by.
yeah, and I think even Neil said it was either Neil or Wim was like, "How many names do you have?"
Right. But he challenges Fern for captainship, and he was trying very nicely at the beginning to not be the jerk. But he
He was being a jerk, but not a jerky jerk,
wasn't being a jerky jerk.
because he was still being a jerk.
He was, but he was trying to get Fern to yield. He finally grabs her, and she takes a swing at him, and he uses the force to block it, and he takes the scepter thing away from her, grabs her by the chest, puts a knife to her throat, trying to force her to yield. And all of the kids at that point in time have the different stages of either surprise, being scared, trying to be brave, and then Wim trying to be brave because he found a lightsaber.
Yep.
And I knew he was going to turn it on upside down. And Fern being stubborn,
Yeah.
not wanting to give up captainship, but she also has no right. She has no ability to really fight him.
Yeah. Right.
So you get the kind of the dichotomy of the kids being kids and playful, and then having reality smack them in the face. Everybody in the entire way has been telling them, "Don't trust Jod. Don't trust Jod. Don't trust Jod."
Yep. But he's been doing just enough to make them think maybe he's not such a bad guy.
Right. And I think ultimately he's not a bad guy. I think he's a selfish bad guy.
Yeah. Because he didn't want to kill her. He didn't.
Yeah.
He just wants the gold. He wants the treasure.
So the Jod part of this episode, he spends some time with Wim, discussing with Wim's kind of I always wanted to be on an adventure. He's crying. I've always wanted to be on an adventure, and it's nothing like I ever thought it was going to be. And I would just want to, I miss my dad. I miss my mom. We didn't get any kind of resolution about what happened to Mom.
Yep.
But he misses Mom. And then Jod gives him the whole forget your mom, forget your dad. That's what I did. I've left all of that behind. Carefree, open-hearted, and then once he finds out that Atten is the Mint, I love that long pause of him just sitting there thinking about what he's gonna do next.
Yeah.
And the kids all asking him,
Yep.
are you gonna, him being the whole time please don't do what you're gonna do.
Yeah, you told us you would take us, and then
Yeah.
we'd give you a fair share of the treasure or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, but him turning on the kids felt inevitable at some point in time.
Yeah. Yep. But ultimately they've all got to get back on the same ship, I feel like.
That's gonna happen.
Yeah. So does he stow away and they take over? I mean, because now SM-33 is on his side because he's the captain now.
Yep.
So
Yep.
they can't, or do the kids stow away? So they've all got to get back on the same ship.
They're all gonna get back on the same ship. I think with the kids leaving out the trap door that Neil found earlier, and Jod saved him from falling to a certain doom. I think him, he's gonna go find them and get them. He's gonna go searching for them, or they're gonna run into each other on the way to the ship. It's gonna be a race to the ship.
Yeah, or he doesn't know where they're at now. They could end up being dumped, right near the ship. They go hide on the ship, and then they take off, and then they're there on the ship with them.
Yeah. Do the Murphy from Inception, where she's hiding in the back seat when That's a really weird. That was the first thing that popped in my head. In Inception, not Inception, in Interstellar, when
Oh,
they
yeah,
go
yeah.
off on he goes off
Yeah.
on a quest and Murphy's in the backseat. I find Jod very frustrating. Like in the best way possible. Not like I'm pissed off with the show, kind of
Yeah, yeah.
whatever. I find him very frustrating because Jude Law is so charismatically likable,
Yeah.
and Jod is very likable, but there's something underneath those eyes that make you just question every little thing that goes on. And,
Right, which I think is the point.
It's
right?
totally
You're
the
like,
point. It's-
oh yeah, he saved you. You can trust him, and then, but everybody, like you said, everybody else is like, don't trust him, and you're like, but well, and he was nice to, he was nice-ish to Wim, when he was crying and all this,
Yeah.
but yeah.
Yeah. He's been playing along to get along this whole time.
Yeah. You're almost like the kids at this point. You're like, you want to trust him, but then you don't trust him, but then you want to trust him, but then you don't trust him, right? So that's
Yeah.
kind of what they're, except for Fern. I don't think Fern's trusted him the whole time, but I think the rest of the kids, at least the boys, have been like,
Yeah.
trusting him, and then he does something, and then they're like, oh.
Yeah. Even last week when he came back with the Eopes, there's no L in that one. Eopes. She's like, you came back for us? Like,
Yeah.
she was surprised by it.
Yeah.
And even in this episode, when he was contemplating his next move, she was the one who was doing the negotiating, to kind of go with Fern's kind of issues that she had in the previous episode, where Wim was trying to cheer her up and
Yeah.
like be everything,
Yeah.
and trying to just be there for her. This week, she really, like, the idea of not being able to stay captain was really like hurting her. Like,
Yeah.
that like it was the only thing that she had that kind of she could control, which is something that feels like in her real life she has no real choice over. Like, her mom's always about, you have to be best in the class, and you get a better job and all that kind of stuff.
Right,
like,
right.
I find that very,
Yeah.
like, so this was the thing that she could actually control herself. I'm interested what's going on with KB,
Yeah.
because we haven't really gotten enough, from my point of view, enough backstory with her.
Right.
All the other kids, we do have backstory. We have 3 episodes left, so I'm interested.
Well, we still don't know what happened with Wim's mom either, so.
Yeah, and
I think a lot of that'll resolve in the last episode when, like,
they get home.
they get home, and then it'll kind of be like exposition,
Yeah.
Like, but we'll see.
Him and Dad will have a big, I miss Mom ever since she passed away,
Yeah,
or
yeah,
whatever,
yeah.
or left. I would be very interesting if she
Yeah.
left. Okay, a couple of things that we got in this episode. Okay, the lightsaber. I have to talk about the lightsaber for a minute. In a show that really isn't featuring the Force. It's featuring a Force user, but not really Jedi. The idea that they have now introduced a Force user with a lightsaber is very interesting, and what that could mean going forward. They made a point of reminding us that Jod can use the Force. So they did that a couple of different times in this episode before he grabs the lightsaber as the last frame. I found that very interesting. The Onyx Sender is the name of the ship. Thank you, Lego, for ruining that 5 months ago. You guys need to get together with your marketing teams. Like, it's a cool name though. Onyx Sender is a cool name. We got a cool creature.
Yeah.
We got in the lower spa with a mace tail
and like a walrus little mustache thing going on.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
kind of like cat eyes. I don't know. Yeah.
It was. It's Star Wars, so there has to be a weird creature.
Yeah.
And at some point in time, we got a hut.
Yeah.
All the huts are supposed to be dead. They're not supposed to have we're not supposed. The Hutts are gone except for Rada the Hutt, which just got announced that it's going to be in the Mando and Grogu. So I don't know if this Hutt is Rada, but
Yeah, they never said the name, so I was expecting them to say that it was Rada,
Yeah,
and then we'd be like, oh, okay, there's our little gateway into that. But
But I think that's what that is going to ultimately be, but we didn't get like confirmation of that.
Right.
Let's see, what else did we get that was interesting? Dash was a very interesting name to bring up because Dash Rendar is in the comics, I believe. So there's like another comics reference. There was some storytelling that they were doing for Renaud. That kind of had some elements of Pirates of the Caribbean and Blackbeard, but also there was some some name dropping and stuff like that in there too. I'm sure somebody at some point in time is going to do a breakdown of the treasure room. Of all the different things in the treasure room. The idea of them getting in the treasure room, don't touch anything, very Goonies.
Yeah.
Kind of we've been talking about the Amblin kind of thing. Them grabbing Jod grabbing Wim's arm, saying don't touch anything.
Yeah, because he does, right. And he does.
And he does, without... Neil, the one figuring it out.
Yep.
Was nice.
Food. Yep.
So yeah, I think if we had watched this episode on Tuesday when it came out, we'd probably have a lot more kind of want to go deeper dive into what was going on. But just the idea of not trusting Jod. We've been told not to trust Jod. He does the mutiny anyways. Of course he did. Of course he did. And then the idea that now the kids are on their own without any protection from Jod or SM-33 on this planet. The pirates may still be floating around out there.
Their skeletons are floating around out there.
Yes.
The girl, though, may still be in play. The girl that caught them and called them in.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah. So I'm interested what's going to happen. I think not next week, but episode 7, we might get a flashback episode with Jod. Back to when he was the captain from the very first episode, or maybe some time before that. Because Wim asked him about... if you're not a Jedi, then what are you?
Yeah.
And he kind of just smiled and got up and left.
Yeah.
So they are definitely building up to who he is, and there's been some musical cues throughout this show and in this episode of just kind of like, hey, there's something there. Jude Law is in his 50s, so he would have been a Padawan during Order 66. Now, we have talked about in the past that we don't want another Survivor or Order 66.
Right.
But we have talked about the idea that maybe he was a Force-sensitive kid that never got found by the Jedi.
Yeah, maybe.
And he uses his powers to, it almost feels like, I'm not saying that this is what it is, but it almost feels like the idea that he was maybe supposed to have been taken and something happened and his parents abandoned him to go to be with the Jedi, and it never happened, and now he was on his own with Force abilities and have no feelings, no connection to anybody else because they all cut him loose, kind of thing.
Yeah, maybe.
So I find that I would be cool if that's the story element arc that we want to get, because it would be a different version of the idea of being taken from your parents or your parents giving you up. It would be a different kind of version, that kind of storytelling and stuff. So let us know what you thought. Anything else?
No.
Anything? Tell us what you thought about this episode in the comments down below. Please be nice, as a requirement around here. Like the video, subscribe to the channel if you're on the YouTube side, follow us on Spotify if you're on that side, and share with your friends. We're also on all the social media stuff: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Blue Sky, TikTok. We're still on Twitter. We don't use it. Until next time, cult members, good afternoon, good evening, and good night now.